There's a teeth whitening secret that's been sitting in Japanese kitchens for over 1,000 years. It's not some expensive treatment or fancy imported product. It's something so strange that when dentists first heard about it, most of them laughed it off completely. I'm talking about charred eggplant, salt, and a technique that looks absolutely ridiculous the first time you see it. But the science behind why it works is genuinely fascinating. And what's even more interesting is that Western dental companies have been accidentally trying to recreate this exact formula without even knowing it. Let me show you what Japanese grandmothers have understood for centuries and why modern science is finally starting to pay attention. The practice is called nasu no heta migaki. In traditional Japanese homes, people would take the green leafy cap on top of an eggplant where the stem attaches, char it over a flame until it turned black and crumbly, then grind it into powder. Mix that with sea salt, and you've got yourself a tooth whitening treatment. I know what you're thinking. Why would anyone think to do this? The answer comes from something called yakibana, or fired plant ash. For centuries, Japanese people noticed that certain plant ashes had remarkable cleaning properties. But eggplant calyx ash was different. Here's the fascinating part. When you char the eggplant calyx, you're creating activated carbon. But the specific cellular structure of this plant material creates an incredibly porous form of carbon. Under a microscope, it looks like a microscopic sponge city. 1 gram of this ash has a surface area equivalent to half a football field. That's not an exaggeration. This massive surface area is everything. Each tiny pore acts like a molecular trap. When you brush with this ash, it physically grabs onto the compounds that stain your teeth. Tannins from tea and coffee, chromogens from wine, tar from tobacco, they all get caught in these microscopic cavities and pulled away from your enamel. But what makes this different from just using regular activated charcoal is the salt. And this is where Japanese wisdom really shines, because the salt does 3 brilliant things at once. First, it acts as a mild abrasive. Your tooth enamel rates about 5 on the Mohs hardness scale. Table salt is around 2.5. This means it can scrub away surface stains without actually scratching your enamel. It's like using a soft brush on a hard floor. Second, salt creates what's called a hypertonic environment. It draws moisture out of the biofilm on your teeth, that sticky layer of bacteria and proteins that builds up constantly. By dehydrating this film, the salt makes it much easier for the ash to absorb and remove everything. Third, salt disrupts bacterial cell membranes. It's not powerful enough to replace actual dental care, but it does reduce the bacterial load in your mouth, which helps with both staining and breath. Traditional practitioners also added one more ingredient, a tiny amount of sake. This isn't just for flavor. The alcohol acts as a solvent for oily compounds. Many staining molecules are lipophilic, meaning they dissolve in fats rather than water. The alcohol breaks them down, making them easier for the ash to grab. So you've got a sophisticated multi-action system. The activated carbon provides massive absorption surface area, the salt gives gentle scrubbing and dehydrates biofilm, and the alcohol dissolves oily stains. When you understand the mechanisms, it's actually brilliant. But here's something that really surprised me. The choice of eggplant specifically isn't random. Eggplants are nightshades, rich in anthocyanins and alkaloids. When you char the calyx, these compounds don't completely burn away. They transform into different molecules that have their own benefits. Recent research shows that certain charred plant alkaloids have mild anti-inflammatory effects on gum tissue. Japanese researchers found that people using traditional eggplant ash had healthier gums compared to plain activated charcoal users. These residual plant compounds seem to reduce the inflammation that leads to gingivitis. There's also a mineral component. Eggplants concentrate potassium, calcium, and magnesium from soil. When you char the calyx, these minerals become more bioavailable and help remineralize your enamel at a microscopic level. Now, let me be clear about something. This method works for whitening, but it's not magic. If your stains go deep into the dentin layer beneath your enamel, surface treatment won't completely fix that. This works best for surface stains and maintaining your teeth's natural color. Also, critically important, you can't use this daily. The salt is still abrasive. Use it too often and you'll gradually wear down your enamel. Traditional practitioners recommended once or twice weekly at most, with regular, gentle brushing the rest of the time. Modern dentists actually view this pretty favorably, with reasonable caveats. They agree activated carbon removes surface stains effectively. The main concerns are about abrasiveness and whether people will substitute this for proper dental care instead of supplementing it. Here's what's wild, though. Western dental companies have essentially been reverse engineering this formula. Look at expensive natural whitening toothpastes. You'll find activated charcoal, sea salt, sometimes plant extracts. They've just repackaged it and charged $30 a tube. The Japanese method costs nothing. You're using food waste that would be thrown away anyway. Some families kept a small jar of eggplant ash powder and used it for months. There's a philosophical angle here too that matters. In Japanese culture, morinai expresses regret over waste. Using every part of the eggplant, even the seemingly useless part, embodies this principle. It's not just about white teeth, it's about honoring resources. This connects to a broader pattern in traditional Japanese wellness practices: rice water for skin, fermented soybeans for gut health, charred eggplant for dental care. There's a common thread of taking everyday materials and using them in ways that modern science is only now validating. So why don't more people know about this? Part of it is cultural dismissal of folk remedies by Western medicine. Part of it is economic. You can't patent eggplant ash. There's no profit in telling people to use food waste. The dental industry is worth billions globally. Whitening products generate enormous revenue. But there's also psychology at play. We've been conditioned to believe effective solutions must be complex, high-tech, and expensive. Something as simple as charred vegetable waste seems too good to be true. We trust products with long ingredient lists and clinical studies more than practices humans have done successfully for centuries. We tend to ignore traditional knowledge until modern science rediscovers it, even though the wisdom was always there. This eggplant calyx tooth whitening method is a perfect example. To try it, wash an eggplant calyx, let it dry for several days, then char it over a flame until black and crumbly. Grind it into powder, mix with equal parts fine sea salt, and add a few drops of sake if you want. Use it once or twice a week. Wet your toothbrush, dip into the powder, brush gently for 2 minutes, and rinse well. After a few uses, your teeth feel smooth, and gradual whitening builds over several weeks. The taste is minerally and smoky. Some add mint powder to soften it. You can buy prepared versions in Japan and some Western natural stores, but part of the charm is making it yourself. It's simple, sustainable, and rooted in generations of observation and experimentation long before anyone knew about activated carbon or anthocyanins. What's fascinating isn't just that it works, but what it represents. Real innovation often comes from curiosity and unconventional ideas, not labs. So before you toss that eggplant top, remember, traditional wisdom can hide surprising solutions, and this one might even earn you compliments on your smile.